question 3 is from the Bell City Players. Should a band that's been around a year tour? If so, how do you go about booking a tour? What are the benefits of touring?
And so what I love about this question, what's brilliant is this goes to show the time that we live in. That the question is, should a band tour? Like, because it comes down to consumption. Let me tell you a story about consumption. Come with me on a journey of consumption. I'm going to tell you 2 parts to this story. This is kind of partly around selling music and about consumption. So my dad, love my dad. He's awesome. I think he's about, I don't know, 100. So the other day he phones me up and he says, I bought a new car. He's very Welsh.
Yeah.
I bought a new car. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And he's like, it's a Nissan Qashqai. And I'm like, great.
Yeah.
He's like, I've got a problem. I was like, okay. He's like, it hasn't got a CD player. So I was like, oh yeah, cars don't have CD players.
Yeah.
That's just a thing. They've kind of gone now. They don't do that anymore.
Yeah, I'm really sad about this.
Yeah. And he's got 7 CDs.
Yeah.
Right? He's got Dire Straits. He's got the Eagles. He's got Queen. Good taste.
Yeah,
to be fair.
I was about to say, it sounds like you.
Yeah, he's got good taste. Fleetwood Mac. So he's got some really good. But that's what he's got. And he's just like. And he's like, how do I plug my phone into my car?
Yeah.
You don't plug your phone into anything anymore. Those days are gone. So he's like, I just want my CD. I want CDs because that's what he knows. He knows CDs. He knows that he can get in his car, he can put his CD player, he can take a CD out, he can put the next CD in. If he's got a 6, remember
That's
the days?
literally me,
I got 6 CD changer. I remember getting a car where instead of having
one left.
I remember having a car where instead of having 1 CD, I had a 6 CD changer, and I was just like, boom. And now you can just have any music that's ever been created in the world. So that's his consumption. Yeah. So trying to sell him iTunes or MP3s something, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm just like, I don't need all that. My life isn't that. And it's partly an age thing, but it's also just that's his consumption. Yeah. Now, fast forward a couple of weeks back, I was having a chat with my kid, and he's really fascinated about business and so what we do and that kind of stuff. Okay. And he says to me, so you say that people don't buy music anymore. Why? And I was like, okay, so music used to be attached to something and now it's not attached to anything. And I said, so think about it like this. I was like, when was the last time you bought music from iTunes? And he said to me, iTunes sells music.
No way.
And I was like,
oh my gosh.
Wow. Like, and that's his consumption. He's a different age.
Yeah,
he's much younger.
crazy.
He's not in a point where he's thinking about it like that. So for him, when I said to him, what do you think iTunes does? And he said, it's the App Store. Like, they sell apps. That's what it is. And I was like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah, I suppose it is. That's consumption. That's the difference. And that's why when people say, should we have CDs or should we have tapes or should we have vinyl? Well, it doesn't matter about what you want. It matters about what the consumption of your audience is. So if your audience is 35 to 45, then having some way of paying by Bitcoin is possibly not the answer. You know, if your audience is 16 to 19, maybe it is. So it's the consumption of the consumer, and it's not just what you fancy. So, and if you are an absolute hardcore technical metal band and you decide to release your music on vinyl, I think you'll struggle a little bit because the music is very, very compressed in order to make that sort of music, which doesn't reflect it as well on vinyl. And the people who listen to your music probably aren't vinyl lovers like the way a Fleetwood Mac sort of fan would listen to it. I'm summarising. So it's the consumer that wins as opposed to you. And so with this question of we've been around for a year, should we tour? Well, the question is it worth it? Yeah. Because loads of people, when I read that question, loads of people who are watching this just went, oh, come on, you're a band, of course you should tour. Yeah. Why? You should tour if it's the right thing for you. If it's not the right thing for you, don't. If you put out music and all of a sudden you have such an amazing logo and audience and following that you're making so much money from your merchandise that you don't have to go on tour, you don't have to go on tour. Yeah. It's just the consumption and how you're going to monetize what you do and whether you want to or not, because some people don't want to tour. Yeah. And some people just live to tour. Yeah. If it were me, I would, if I was in a band, I think everything would revolve around tours. Yeah, but nowadays it's really hard. This week I was with the booker from the Joiners, and the Joiners is a venue in Southampton. It's been there for 50 years, and it is an amazing venue. this guy is amazing. I mean,
Yeah.
this guy, like, he doesn't just book bands in. As a promoter, he does everything to keep that place going. He's a smart cookie. And he's just saying it's really hard.
Yeah.
Like, you know, all of a sudden, the beer keller in Bristol's closed down. Venues are closing down left, right and centre because costs are going up. And, you know, and there's other things as well as costs going up. There's also things like noise complaints and other things. There's just a lot going on when you've got a venue. So it's very, very difficult. And it's so therefore it's getting harder to tour. For a band to go on tour, like where with the Bruce and Mark and the other guys, we're about to put a music industry tour together. We're going to be going to Bristol, Manchester, Belfast, Glasgow and London and somewhere else. And when we go to Sheffield, and when we go to those places, we're not even doing it in a tour bus. We're doing it in a splitter, and we're doing it over 6 days. And in order to do it properly, it's going to cost us 14 grand.
Wow.
That's how much the 6-day tour is going to be, with bringing in a few guests who aren't getting paid a lot, to hire the venue, to hire the splitter, for petrol, for accommodation. You know, could we do it cheaper? Yes, but we wouldn't get the desired effect out of it. But still, it just goes to show that just for a bunch of us to go and do this music industry tour, we're not going to charge for it, so therefore we don't need to sell tickets. We're just hiring the venue ourselves, we're bringing the people in ourselves. It's going to cost 14 grand for 6 days. So it's really hard when you're a band and you're like, yeah, let's go on tour and just live on tour. Okay, cool. Well, how much are you going to charge? And if you can only get 5 people to a gig in Southampton, then you ain't going to get paid any money. And if you're coming from Manchester, you got to get there. It's expensive. You got to stay somewhere. It's the idea of staying in a van when you're 18 and you'll go, no, it's cool. We're all going to stay in a van. Go and do that for a couple of days and see how you feel.
Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
So, you know, so the costs go up. It's very, very difficult. So should you tour? If you want to tour, yes. And I think it's very important if you want to be a gigging band to get out of your city. There's so many bands that can pull 200 people in their city, but when they go to the next city, they're getting 20 people or 5 people or nobody. And so, you know, you've done a good job in your city, but if you think about the world and the 7 billion people in the world, you haven't even scratched the surface. Yeah. So you've got to get out of your city. But that's if you want to be a live, gigging, touring band. So there are bands which see themselves as that. Do you have to tour? Not at all. There's so many ways that you can monetize now that you don't have to tour if you don't want to. It's a matter of choice. And if anyone tells you you're not real if you don't tour, that's fine. They're just living in the past.
Yeah, so it's not a necessity anymore by any means. That's interesting.
But you will have a lot of fun.
Yeah, and a lot of van life.